I'm John Tuinstra, President of Citizens for Parental Rights and Citizens for Parental Rights PAC, and I want to talk with you a little bit about what we do and about the situation in our state on child protective services. We are very concerned about the high numbers of children who are being taken from their parents, and these children are being taken for neglect and abuse. And the thing that we notice is that there's kind of a pattern in the complaints that parents have, and generally it just makes us question what's going on. And we are hearing things in complaints by Child Protective Services, allegations such as a stain in the carpet, mold in a refrigerator, in a small container in the back of the refrigerator, and a Child Protective Service worker goes hunting and finds that and takes a picture and brings that up in court. We've heard allegations there's not enough food in the refrigerator. The laundry is stacked up too high in front of the washing machine. There's dirty dishes in the sink. These are things that are not really a legitimate basis to take children away from their parents. Think about all parents make mistakes, and it's a good thing that parents get 18 years to do their job. And I think we have to bring some reform to the system. One of the things that I have noticed is that there's quite a change in the view of corporal punishment over my lifetime. When I was a child, my father had a stick on top of the refrigerator, and I got a spanking when I needed it, which was probably quite often, and I mean, I probably needed it more often than I got it. But at school, the principal had a stick about 7/8 of an inch in diameter and 3 feet long, and he used it occasionally. But most of us learn pretty fast in that situation. When I started teaching in the 70s, it was common practice for principals to use corporal punishment. And even when my daughter was in 6th grade, her mother and I went to school to do some painting on a volunteer basis. And we found there was a spanking stick in about every room. And that has changed, and over the years, as I was teaching, I found that if I had a student who wasn't behaving well and I called parents, that I frequently would hear the response that parents were afraid of what might happen through Child Protective Services, and therefore they were neglecting to discipline their children. And I saw that as a common thing when I was teaching, and in all the years that I taught, I really don't think I ever saw a clear-cut case of child abuse. I'm sure there were a few that I just didn't learn about, but I know that they were few and far between, and it was not a common thing that was happening in the homes of the students that I had. Just think about what happens when a parent is accused of child abuse or neglect. First of all, it's devastating for them emotionally. They find it hard to think and to behave rationally and under that kind of pressure. Sometimes they wind up hiring an attorney, and that costs often thousands, tens of thousands. We talked to one family that spent hundreds of thousands in their own defense and lost their children anyway. One situation I became aware of recently, the parents were found innocent on criminal charges and on civil charges or a civil complaint of any kind of neglect against their children, yet they wound up spending $10,000 and more on attorney fees. And just think of when's the last time you spent $10,000 and got nothing for it? And that is not justice. That is not fairness. That is not what we should be having in this country. We should be exemplary for fairness. We should be setting an example for the world, and what we're doing is just not acceptable and badly in need of reform. We are hearing reports of Child Protective Service workers and the social workers that work for the subcontractors being very rude, assertive, overzealous, poorly trained, many who do not have families of their own or have never raised children, and so are missing that experience. Sometimes threatening parents in order to force them into signing away their parental rights. Sometimes threatening parents and bringing about a separation or a divorce, which was otherwise unnecessary. We wonder, why all these bewildering things have happened. Typically the average adult has an interchange with the police in the law system over maybe speeding or a traffic ticket. And police officers are generally very polite and professional. I have even thanked a police officer for giving me a ticket and said, thanks, I needed that. That wasn't the first ticket I had. But, those things happen. But that is a well-performed, just system in general. There's exceptions. But that seems to be just the opposite of what we are hearing in the area of child protective services and parental rights. We're wondering why it happens, and this is something that I just questioned over and over. Why would such a thing happen? And what we are hearing is suspicions and some evidence. We have not finished our research on this, but we are hearing that there is a lot of federal money that comes into the state as these child protective service cases move along. We do know that under Social Security Title 4E, there is a bonus of, on average, $6,000 when an adoption of a foster child is completed. So if you have a family of 4 children and they're taken from their parents and they're put in foster care, first of all, the federal government does fund some of that foster care. We don't have all the answers on the flow of money, but we are looking into that. But then when an adoption takes place, if you have a family of 4 at $6,000 apiece, there's $24,000. And we believe that that kind of funding contributes to an overzealous prosecution of child protective cases. And we think that if that federal money, that flow of federal money were shut off, and if the states were the ones that administered their own system, they would not be then financially rewarded for harassing families, taking away children, breaking up families. Remember that the child who is taken away from his or her parents also is badly abused. And, children are being taken in the name of protecting the child from abuse or neglect, but in fact the system is abusing some of the children that it claims to be protecting. So what are some things that we would like to see at the state level? For instance, there is a kinship care bill in the state legislature right now. It's called the Emir Bill. It has taken the Emir family almost 20 years to, that's my understanding, almost 20 years to get this bill to this this point where it's at. It still hasn't passed. It finally did go through the House of Representatives this session and was voted unanimously, 109-0. It passed the House. Well, then the next step is for it to go to the Senate. It has languished in committee for 16 months and more. We've had several conversations with the chairman of that committee, Child and Family Services in the Michigan Senate. And today I got a phone call that they are finally satisfied with the wording. They've worked it out with the original sponsor in the House. They've worked it out with the Department of Human Services and the Emir family, and they're intending now to put that in front of a committee for hearing and then hopefully for a vote. I'm disappointed that it took 16 months of waiting for that. But that's one thing we'd like to see passed. We would like to see a voucher system so that when indigent people need an attorney, they get a voucher from the court and they can take that voucher and hire any attorney they want rather than having to hire the attorney that's under contract with the judges. You see, if an attorney is under contract with the judges in a court, that attorney has to please those judges in the courtroom, and that just becomes a conflict of opinion, a conflict of interest, that is. And we believe it causes the system to be hurt, and that we're not getting the justice that we want and that we are proud of. And you know, when we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we claim there's justice for all. Well, we need to do some reform so that we have more justice for all. That voucher bill was introduced by Representative Fulton Sheen in the last session. It didn't get very far. We've been asking a few other reps and senators to sponsor that, and we hope to see some movement on that. Peter Hoekstra is the congressman for the western part of Michigan. He has become the primary sponsor for a constitutional amendment to the United States Constitution called the Parental Rights Amendment. And it would basically state that education and upbringing is the right and duty of the parents. It's a fundamental right, and that if government is going to intervene, it must be done in the least intrusive fashion. It's the burden of government to prove that it has this duty to intervene. We would like to see that passed. We believe that's a good bill. And we have met with people from Representative Hoekstra's district, or from his office. They've come to our meetings and been very polite, and we've shared a lot of our stories with the person from Congressman Hoekstra's office. We have endorsed Congressman Hoekstra in his run for governor. He came close to winning, but he obviously he did not make it at this point. We are interested in watching his future. In the state legislature, there is a concurrent resolution in the House. It's sponsored by Dave Agema, Representative Dave Agema, House Concurrent Resolution 45. And what that is a resolution that would simply ask the U.S. Congress to act on and pass the Parental Rights Amendment. It has 60 sponsors at my last information, 60 sponsors for this resolution asking the Congress to pass the Parental Rights Amendment. Well, unfortunately, it hasn't gotten to a vote on the House floor, and hasn't got a hearing in the House of Representatives. I was on the phone today asking Representative Meadows again, asking his office, when will this be scheduled for a hearing? And I was told I would get a call back. I haven't received that call yet. Hope I do. But you know, when something has 60 sponsors out of 110 reps, that obviously is a majority. And then to have it blocked by the chair of a committee just doesn't seem very democratic. That's an insult to democracy. And when it's something as fundamental as the rights of a parent to be parents, it would seem to me like that ought to just sail through the House of Representatives and the Senate in Michigan, and it ought to sail through the Congress, because remember, that's where people come from. People come from families. They come from parents. Obviously, you have to have two parents, a father and a mother, in order to produce any children. And it is God's design that parents do the upbringing and much of the educating, and that's what that constitutional amendment is all about. So we would like to ask our future elected officials and our current elected officials to take a very hard look at the child protective system as it exists under Department of Human Services and the subcontractors.